right, so I'm really into pugs. And I can't really identify where this came from because I've never known a pug that well in my life. Like my family didn't have pugs. I've never had a friend that had a pug. I've not spent that much time with a pug. I once spent a whole night at a bar in Dallas with a pug named Seymour. But that's my longest pug relationship to date. But despite that lack of a personal connection, I'm obsessed with these little weird dogs. And for years, I've planned to get one and name him Jeff. And it's been going on long enough that my friends and family are really invested in this. And I have one friend who gave Jeff his middle name, which is Tiny Sparkle Donut. And she also has dibs getting to pick out his first Halloween costume. And my mom is weirdly into it. I think in the absence of grandchildren, she's invested in the future pug grandchild. And she has this greeting card that just has a pug on it. And she's kept it for years, and she displays it in our home next to photographs of our actual family. So I don't know, it's weird, but everyone's into it. But for now, I live in a studio, and I travel a good amount, and I still kill succulents. So Jeff is just a figment of our collective imagination right now. So in the absence of an actual pug, my love of pugs manifests itself in other ways. And one of the main ways is that people just give me lots of pug stuff. If something is written on the internet about a pug, it will find its way to me immediately. Frequently from only borderline acquaintances, and I'm I didn't even know I knew you, let alone that you knew that I was into pugs. And I don't know, probably some of you have experienced this if you've ever expressed a passing interest in something that is easily tchotchked, but your friends and family for every occasion will give you all of the tchotchkes. So I have in my apartment, I have pug pillows of varying sizes and a pug poster and a puggy bank. And I'm now collecting a line of Christmas pug stuff because someone had to do something with Bah Hum Pug, obviously. So I have all this stuff, and it's so nice of everybody, but it's also kind of embarrassing to bring a new human into my home. And I'm I didn't buy any of this myself, I swear. But in addition to all of the pug paraphernalia, the way I show my love of pugs is that I just meet a lot of them on the street or in bars like Seymour. And so one night I am walking home, and it's midnight on a Friday, and I'm a few beers deep, but not really enough beers deep to justify what happens next. And I'm a half block from my apartment in DuPont, and I meet this pug, and I'm hi, how are you? What's your name? And then the owner has to answer, and so we start to interact like humans. He's her name is Lola, and I start to go through my usual line of questioning. I've obviously asked her name, how old is she, breeder, rescue. Do you find her respiratory issues easy to manage? What's her general level of physical fitness? Can she go on hikes? And we cover all that, and then things start to get deeper, and he's telling me about the guilt he has for owning a dog in the city, and feels bad that he has to hire a dog walker, and then he's telling me about his impending separation with his partner Craig, and we're buddies, and before I know it, I am giving him my business card, and I'm going to come over and hang out with Lola in the middle of the day. While he's at work. There's the dog walker, and then I'm going to be the midday snuggler. And we've both disregarded the part where I also have a job, and they tend to prefer me to be there in the middle of the day. But we're cool. We're this is a great plan. And then he realizes that there's something else I should know. He's I actually have 2 other invalid pugs in the house, and would you like to meet them? And so I have 2 main considerations here. Number 1, I want to be a really good midday pug snuggler, so I should probably meet all of my charges. And number 2, at the time I was living at 17th and P, just a couple blocks away, which has been described by at least 2 legitimate news sources as the gayest intersection in America. And even before this guy brought up his partner Craig, I knew he was gay. And as all of you know, gay people make everything safe, and gay people never murder anyone. So I'm yeah, let's go inside the house. Let's meet the pugs. So we walk inside the house, And it's like, he like has the whole row house, like not just like one floor. And we enter in the living room, and there's like fancy art everywhere. It's like bought at real places, not like from TJ Maxx and like stolen off the wall at 930 Club, like my apartment. And there's like low couches. It's very museum-y. But the pugs don't live in the living room, the invalid pugs. They live in the basement. So that's how I came to be somehow leading him down a long, not particularly well-lit hallway in the basement where ostensibly the pugs live in like the bathrooms down the hall. And it wasn't until that moment that I was like, oh God, I have made a series of really terrible decisions. And I start to imagine like my murder, because I'm definitely gonna get murdered. And I feel certain that there's an axe involved, and like an axe is gonna crack the back of my head, and that's gonna kill me. And then he's gonna like Robert Durst-style dismember me, bury me under the floorboards, and I'm dead. But at this point, like I'm in the hallway, like I'm already there, and I don't know, like I'm tall, but I'm not that scrappy, and my like hand-to-axe combat skills are untested, so I can't really do anything but just like keep going. So I just keep going, and we're like inching further down this hallway, and we arrive towards the end and turn towards an open doorway as I'm again like awaiting my death, and instead there's Rosalind. She lives in her own bathroom. She has a bathroom all to herself. She was in fact very, very invalid. But like we got along really well. She really took to me, and I guess that was a big deal. She doesn't just like everybody. So we're continuing to feel so good about this plan, and I couldn't meet the other pug. The other pug was too invalid to take visitors. So we go back upstairs, and like we're both still so jazzed about this, and the guy's like, wait, like even though we're getting separated soon, like you should probably meet Craig. And so Craig comes downstairs. He's like hollering up. He's like, Craig, come downstairs and meet Mallory. And Craig comes down in his pajamas, like he was in bed. And he's like, who the fuck is Mallory? Like, where did you just get this girl off the street in the middle of the night? And I realized that like I'm not the only one who made a series of terrible decisions this night. Because who's to say that like a 20-something girl can't murder anybody? So Craig puts a damper on things, and I leave, and they never call, never do, you know, and so I never heard from them again. Like I don't know if things worked out with Craig. I don't know how Lola is. The other two pugs are like for sure dead because they were very invalid. But you'll be pleased to know that I have since stopped following strange men that I meet on the street in the middle of the night into their basements to meet their pugs. But I am still surrounded by pug paraphernalia, and I do still meet a lot of pugs on the street. But here's hoping that at this point, the next time I am following a pug into a fancy row house, it is Jeff Tiny Sparkle Donut, and we're coming home. Thanks.